The world is witnessing the largest technology war in modern history. This is a new-style Cold War that no longer involves military and weapons but rather technological innovation and economics. The United States, a superpower that has long dominated global technology, now faces its greatest challenge from China. China, once viewed only as the world's factory and a copier of Western technology, has now far surpassed that perception. This country is no longer just a producer of cheap goods with low quality but has become a pioneer in various fields of future technology. China's innovations in 5G telecommunications, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and semiconductors have reshaped the global competitive landscape. Companies like Huawei, Tencent, Alibaba, BYD, SMIC, and many others have proven that China is not only capable of catching up with the United States but has even surpassed American tech giants in some sectors. Naturally, this worries Washington. The United States, which has enjoyed unchallenged dominance in the tech sector, now sees its power potentially shifting if China can control semiconductor chips, 5G networks, artificial intelligence, and electric vehicles. Thus, US dominance in the tech world would come to an end. Therefore, the United States is not standing idly by. They have launched various policies to curb China's rise, from sanctions against Huawei to restrictions on exporting advanced chips and increasing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. Ultimately, this will become an intense battle between the two. If we look back to the 1990s, China was indeed known as the world's factory. The country could only produce cheap goods with low quality. Their products were often considered cheap, less innovative, and merely copies of technologies already developed in the United States and Europe. However, today, that perception is far outdated. China has made a tremendous leap that has even surprised the world. The country has successfully transformed from just a cheap manufacturing factory to a leader in global technological innovation. One of the main factors driving China's progress is massive investment in research and development. The Chinese government realized that to compete with the United States, they couldn't rely solely on cheap labor or large production capacity. They had to invest in science, technology, and innovation. Therefore, China allocates hundreds of billions of dollars annually for R&D, making it one of the countries with the largest R&D investments in the world. In 2023, China spent over $440 billion on research and innovation, a figure only surpassed by the United States. In addition, the National Strategy, Made in China 2025, launched in 2015, has become a major milestone in this change. The program aims to reduce China's dependence on foreign technology and make it a leader in various strategic industries such as artificial intelligence, semiconductors, electric vehicles, and telecommunications. To achieve this, the Chinese government provides massive subsidies to local companies to ensure they can compete globally. The results are starting to show in the telecommunications sector, where Huawei has become a global leader in 5G technology, surpassing its competitors from the United States and Europe. While many Western countries are still struggling to build 5G infrastructure, China is already one step ahead in developing 6G technology. In the electric vehicle industry, companies like BYD and NIO are not only rivaling Tesla but have even surpassed Tesla's sales figures in certain periods. In e-commerce and digital finance, Alibaba and Tencent have created a digital ecosystem that is far more advanced than payment systems in the United States or Europe. However, China's success has not come without challenges. Washington quickly realized that it was losing its technological dominance. As a result, the United States has started taking aggressive steps to maintain its economic and technological supremacy. For the United States, technological dominance is not just about economic gain but also about national security and geopolitical control. Technology is the new weapon in global competition, and the United States cannot allow China to take over as the world's technological leader. Therefore, the United States has taken various measures to curb China's progress, using protectionist policies, economic sanctions, and political pressure on its allies. One of the first steps taken by the United States was to impose sanctions on Huawei in 2019. The United States added Huawei to the Entity List, a blacklist that prohibits American companies from doing business with Huawei. As a result, Huawei lost access to critical technologies such as Qualcomm chips and Google's Android operating system. This step was designed to destroy Huawei's business and halt its global expansion in 5G networks. However, Huawei did not give up. They responded by creating their own chips and alternative operating system, Harmony OS, which is now becoming a serious competitor to Android. In addition to Huawei, the United States has also started restricting the export of advanced chips to China. The United States realizes that semiconductor chips are the brain behind all modern technology devices, from smartphones to artificial intelligence and military defense systems. And if China succeeds in developing its own advanced chips, the United States will lose its technological edge. The United States has long dominated the global semiconductor industry. Giant companies like Intel, Nvidia, AMD, and Qualcomm are the backbone of the world's technology ecosystem. However, behind this dominance, there is another player that is even more influential: Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company, TSMC. TSMC is the world's largest chip manufacturer based in Taiwan, controlling over 50% of the global chip production market and even reaching 90% in the most advanced chip category below 5 nanometers. Meanwhile, China realizes that without mastering chips, they won't be able to compete with the United States in high-tech industries. Therefore, they are trying to accelerate the development of their domestic semiconductor industry. However, this is a significant challenge because building a semiconductor industry from scratch requires decades of time, enormous costs, and access to the most advanced technology. The United States sees China's ambition as a major threat to their technological supremacy. Washington is aware that if China succeeds in building its own chip industry, they will not only lose control over the global technology market but also lose a geopolitical tool they can use to pressure China. Therefore, the United States has started taking aggressive steps to hinder China's semiconductor development. The first step taken by the United States was to restrict the export of advanced chips to China. In 2022, the Joe Biden administration issued a ban that prohibited U.S. companies like Nvidia and AMD from selling high-end artificial intelligence chips to China. This step was designed to slow down China's progress in developing supercomputers and artificial intelligence. Not only that, the United States also pressured its allies, particularly the Netherlands and Japan, to stop selling chip-making equipment to China. In the Netherlands, there is one company that plays a crucial role in the global chip supply chain: ASML. ASML is the only company in the world that produces extreme ultraviolet lithography machines used to make the most advanced chips. Without these machines, China won't be able to produce chips comparable to those made by TSMC or Samsung. The United States, understanding this, forced the Dutch government to ban ASML from selling these machines to China. Meanwhile, Japan also plays a significant role in the global semiconductor industry, particularly in providing raw materials and chip fabrication equipment. The United States then pressured Japan to restrict the export of semiconductor-related technology to China, which further squeezed Beijing's efforts to build its own chip industry. However, despite facing significant pressure from the United States and its allies, China has not remained idle. Beijing began to fully support domestic semiconductor companies such as Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, SMIC, and Yangtze Memory Technologies with billions of dollars in funding to accelerate their technological development. In 2023, SMIC surprised the world by successfully producing 7-nanometer chips without the help of US technology or ASML. This shows that although China is still lagging behind in advanced chip technology, they continue to find ways to overcome the obstacles imposed by the United States. However, there is one thing that is at the center of all this tension: Taiwan. Taiwan is not just a territory disputed between China and the United States, but also the hub of the world's semiconductor industry. TSMC, as the largest chip manufacturer, becomes a key factor in this competition. If China succeeds in controlling Taiwan, they will directly gain access to the most advanced technology in the world, which could alter the global balance of power. However, the United States realizes that if TSMC falls into China's hands, Washington will lose control over the global technology supply chain. Therefore, the United States continues to strengthen its relationship with Taiwan and even sends military aid to ensure that China cannot simply take over the island. On the other hand, Beijing is becoming increasingly aggressive in asserting its claims over Taiwan, considering the island as part of their sovereign territory that must be returned to China's fold. This chip war is not just about economics, but also about global geopolitics. If China succeeds in creating its own semiconductor industry, the United States' technological dominance could collapse in a matter of decades. However, if the United States continues to successfully limit China's technological progress, Beijing will remain lagging behind in high-tech innovation. But this war is far from over. The world is currently on the brink of an artificial intelligence revolution that will transform almost every aspect of human life, from economics and military to how we communicate. The technological war between China and the United States has now shifted to the digital world, which is more abstract but no less important, namely dominance in artificial intelligence development. The United States, as a pioneer in the artificial intelligence industry, has dominated this ecosystem with giant companies like OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Microsoft, and Meta. One symbol of the United States' supremacy in artificial intelligence is GPT, an advanced language model developed by OpenAI with support from Microsoft. GPT has evolved into one of the most advanced artificial intelligence models in the world, supporting various sectors, from business and education to customer service. Despite this, China is not idle, with ambitions to catch up and even surpass the United States in the field of artificial intelligence. China has invested billions of dollars in artificial intelligence research and development. Full government support, access to vast amounts of data, and a maturing technology ecosystem have positioned China to challenge the dominance of US artificial intelligence. One manifestation of this ambition is the emergence of an AI model developed by China that is now a serious competitor to GPT. This model is not just an ordinary AI model, with claims of being more advanced, faster, and more efficient than GPT. The model has immediately drawn global attention. One of the main attractions of this model is its open-source nature, which allows developers worldwide to use and adapt the technology freely. This is in stark contrast to GPT, which, despite having a free version, has many limitations and only provides full access to paid users. Many observers see this strategy as a smart move by China to dominate the global AI ecosystem. By making the model open source, China is effectively inviting the world to contribute to their AI development, while reducing dependence on US technology. If more companies and individuals switch to this model, the dominance of OpenAI and other US-made AI could be threatened. Another advantage claimed by this model is its ability to understand and process language better than previous AI models. With more efficient algorithms and a larger dataset, the model can provide more accurate and relevant answers in various contexts. China also has an advantage in the sheer volume of data, thanks to its population of over 1.4 billion people in a rapidly developing digital ecosystem. The launch of this model has immediately drawn attention from the US. Some Western media outlets have even suggested that the era of US dominance in AI may be coming to an end if China continues to develop its technology at an extraordinary pace. Shares of major tech companies, including Microsoft and Nvidia, experienced fluctuations after news about the model spread widely. the US government realizes that AI is not just a tool for creating chatbots or automation systems, but also a strategic weapon in economic and geopolitical warfare. AI has broad applications in various sectors, including military, cybersecurity, and intelligence analysis. And if China succeeds in surpassing the US in AI technology, it will not only impact the tech industry but also alter the global balance of power. When the two largest economies in the world, the US and China, compete to dominate future technology, the impact will not be limited to just them. The conflict will shake the global economy, disrupt supply chains, and create uncertainty for many countries and companies. This tech war is not just about who is more innovative, but also about geopolitical power, national security, and economic influence. The more intense the competition, the greater the domino effect will be across various sectors, from the semiconductor industry to global trade and international alliances. In this technological competition, there is no single winner, but rather a reshaping of the global economic order in the 21st century. One of the biggest impacts of this tech war is the potential for the world to split into two separate economic and technological blocks. Previously, globalization allowed all countries to be connected in a single efficient supply chain. However, as tensions between the US and China continue to rise, the world is moving towards a phenomenon known as decoupling. A situation where the economies and technological systems of China and the US begin to run on different paths. On one side, the US bloc and its allies, such as the EU, Japan, South Korea, and Australia, continue to use US-made technology. Meanwhile, the China bloc and its allies, such as Russia, Iran, BRICS countries, and some developing nations, begin to adopt Chinese technology. If this trend continues, the world may be divided into two competing technological ecosystems. Each side would have different standards for software, hardware, internet networks, and even digital currencies. This would not only create economic uncertainty but also potentially hinder global innovation as international collaboration becomes increasingly difficult.